Chris, thanks for coming to join us on Cancer Stories. We appreciate you making the effort to come from London today. I understand you have been diagnosed, well, a while ago now, with quite a rare cancer. It's one of the hematological cancers, a lymphoma, but a mantle cell lymphoma. How did that come about initially?
Actually, it was a great shock for me, I must be honest. I was diagnosed at the age of 51, and I'd never previously been sick. So I never attended my doctor. I'd never even been to a hospital as an inpatient. But I started to feel quite tired when I was working, but I put that down to just working hard. And then after that, my groin and my arms started to ache. And in the middle of the night, according to my wife, I was sweating as the bed was absolutely damp in the morning. But I thought that was all signs of stress and maybe overwork, so we decided to take a holiday, and we went off to a nice luxurious resort in the Middle East to try and resolve those tiredness issues. But actually that only made things worse, and by the time I got back, my wife, encouraging is probably not strong enough word, pushed me to the doctor to go and have some tests. And when I saw the GP, he said, "Oh, welcome, Mr. Lewis. We don't see you very often," as he was dusting off my file. And I explained to him my symptoms, and he said, "We must do some very urgent tests," which he did. And the next day, I was showering, getting ready to go to work, and the phone rang. And it was my GP personally, which I was quite shocked at. And he told me that I had to go to hospital straight away. He'd made an appointment at our general hospital, local hospital, that I needed to see a consultant there. Once I'd seen the consultant, they did some more tests, and they put a camera down my throat, and they found that my tonsils were swelling. And she said, "Mr. Lewis, you have remarkably large tonsils." And I said, "That's probably because I talk a lot." And she said, "It's not for that reason, but we need to remove them because they're going to strangle you." So they did an urgent operation a few days later to take out my tonsils. Once that was done, I was quite happy, and actually I felt a lot better and went back to work, which is the main love of my life, other than my good lady, of course. And a couple of weeks later, I got a phone call from the hospital, and they said, "Mr. Lewis, we need you to come back and see us." And I thought, wow, this is remarkable service from the NHS. You know, everybody criticises the NHS, and here I am having what I would consider to be a relatively simple operation of someone removing my tonsils. And they want to check up on me. And I said to my wife, this is a wonderful thing. But my wife, she had the woman's intuition, I think, and she said, "I want to come with you to that appointment." And I said, "I don't need that. I don't need you holding my hand." But she came along. And at the appointment, I was met by a very official looking gentleman in a very sharp suit. And I was even more impressed. And he took me into his office, and he looked in my throat and he said, "Things are healing up nicely, Mr. Lewis. That's very good. But unfortunately, we did some tests on your tonsils, and we found you have mantle cell lymphoma stage 4. And at that stage, he might as well have been talking Mandarin, because I didn't understand a word that he said. I didn't know what it was. I said, "What is this?" And he said, "Actually, it's cancer." So I said, "But you can do something, right?" And he said, "Maybe, but we can't cure it. We can treat it." And I said, "What's this stage 4 business?" And he said, "Actually, there isn't any stage 5. So it then sunk in quite quickly how things were looking for me. He said, "We need to do a very urgent scan." He said, "We recommend that we're going to give you up to 8 sessions of aggressive chemotherapy, and we need to start that quickly. And your only hope after that is a stem cell transplant, if we can find a match for you." So things accelerated then. I had my scans, and the cancer had gone everywhere, basically. It was in my groin, under my arms, it was even on my bowel. So I was covered in tumours. And the chemotherapy started. So that's the sort of diagnosis situation, really.